Welcome to today's Explainer. I am absolutely thrilled to have you here. We've all felt that sudden sinking feeling in the pit of our stomachs when a completely unexpected expense just pops up out of nowhere. The anxiety of living paycheck to paycheck, constantly wondering how you'd keep the lights on if something went wrong. Well, it's a heavy, heavy weight to carry. Today, we're going to completely eliminate that stress. We're diving into a step-by-step blueprint for building a rock-solid financial safety net from absolute scratch. If you've ever felt totally paralyzed by the idea of saving for a rainy day, or if you're just looking for a highly structured, logical way to protect yourself financially, you are in exactly the right place. We're going to break this down into clear, highly actionable steps that you can start implementing literally today.
So, Section 1, the $400 emergency problem. Are you ready? Okay, let's dive right into this.
$400. According to data from the Federal Reserve, there's this really startling statistic. Nearly 40% of Americans cannot cover a sudden $400 emergency with cash. Think about that for a second. 4 in 10 people, if hit with a totally routine emergency today, just wouldn't have the cash on hand to make it go away. And listen, this isn't just an issue for minimum wage earners either. Because of lifestyle creep or your spending naturally rises to meet your income, you've got middle and upper middle class professionals who are entirely cash poor. They might have a really nice car and a gorgeous apartment, but they are living incredibly close to the financial edge.
So I have to ask you directly, are you prepared for an emergency? Imagine it's a freezing Tuesday morning. You turn the key in the ignition, and instead of the engine roaring to life, you hear this horrible grinding clunk. Your car is completely dead. You know instantly this is going to cost at least $500. For a huge portion of the population, that exact moment is pure panic. Life doesn't schedule its emergencies, right? A suddenly broken tooth that needs immediate work, or an unexpected layoff, these aren't rare anomalies, they're just normal life events. Yet because of that cash gap, millions of people are forced straight into high-interest credit card debt just to survive a bad Tuesday. That single swipe of a credit card at 24% interest, that can take years to pay off, creating a cascading cycle of debt. But here's the good news, you do not have to be part of that statistic.
Which brings us right to Section 2, calculating true survival expenses, needs versus wants. This is step 1 of our blueprint.
All right, here is a massive psychological hurdle we need to clear right now. A 3-month emergency fund means 3 months of your absolute survival expenses. It does not mean 3 months of your current income. So many people get tripped up and overwhelmed here. If you bring home $5,000 a month, you might think, oh, I need to save $15,000. And that number feels so impossibly large that mental paralysis sets in and you end up saving nothing at all. But actually, if you lose your job tomorrow, your goal isn't to replace your entire lifestyle. Your goal is to cover pure survival. Your survival number is drastically lower than your income number.
And look at the breakdown here. It brilliantly illustrates exactly what true survival actually means. On one side, we have your survival expenses, your rent or mortgage, utilities to keep the lights on, basic groceries, we're talking rice, beans, frozen veggies, essential insurance, and the minimum payments on your debt to keep you out of default. On the other side is the fluff. If you're in a financial emergency, your daily Chipotle bowl, your avocado toast, and your Spotify premium are the absolute first things to go. You're definitely not buying new clothes. You are only paying for what keeps a roof over your head and your family fed.
So here is the exact 3-step mathematical process to find your specific target number. Step 1, track your last 30 days of spending. A highly effective way to do this is to literally print out your last bank statement. Step 2, take a red highlighter and aggressively cross out all that fluff we just talked about. Cross out the subscriptions, the takeout, the entertainment. Whatever dollar amount you are left with at the end of the month is your true baseline survival number. Step 3, just multiply that baseline number by 3. Boom! That's your target number. It's not a guess, it's a mathematically precise goal based purely on your bare bones essential needs. Moving on to Section 3, the high-yield vault. Where to hide your money. Now that we actually have your target number, where does it live? Well, the golden rule for this money is super simple. Keep it separate, keep it accessible, but out of arm's reach. Please do not leave this in your regular checking account. This is all about managing the psychology of friction. If you leave your safety net in the exact same account you used to buy your daily coffee, it is way too easy to justify a quick tap of Apple Pay for a new TV or a weekend trip on a whim. The money needs to be entirely out of sight. It creates just enough friction that you can't spend it accidentally, but it remains accessible enough that you can transfer it over in a true crisis.
Now, what's really interesting here is the stark mathematical contrast in where you store your cash. Do not leave this hard-earned money in a traditional big bank savings account earning a pathetic 0.01% interest. Inflation acts as a silent tax on your money. Think about it. If prices for groceries and gas go up by 3% a year and your bank is paying you 0.01%, you are quite literally losing purchasing power every single day your money sits there. Instead, you've got to use a high-yield savings account, or HYSA, which is currently paying around 4.5% interest, sometimes even higher.
Let's break down exactly why the high-yield savings account is our absolute vault of choice. First off, top-tier HYSAs are completely free to open and maintain. They're FDIC insured, meaning your money is backed by the federal government and is just as protected as it is at any major traditional bank. They earn that fantastic 4 to 5% interest, providing a completely risk-free return. And most importantly, that interest acts as a shield, letting your money actively fight off inflation while sitting safely. Your safety net is actually growing alongside the rising cost of living.
All right, Section 4, Automating Your Savings, the Invisible Strategy.
This is the final step of the blueprint, and it's all about how to actually fill that vault without feeling the pain of saving. Because listen, if you try to save whatever is left over at the end of the month, your balance will be zero, every time. It's just human nature. Willpower is a finite resource, and decision fatigue is incredibly real. If you wait until the 30th of the month to see what's left in your checking account, you'll have inevitably found a reason to spend it. We naturally view available cash in our primary account as permission to spend. Relying on sheer willpower alone is a guaranteed setup for failure.
Instead, we're going to use a brilliant psychological trick, making saving entirely invisible. The ultimate financial life hack is just getting out of your own way. You need to go to your employer's payroll system and set up direct deposit to send exactly 5% or 10% of your paycheck straight into your new high-yield savings account before it ever reaches you. If that money never hits your main checking account in the first place, you literally never see it. And if you never see it, you simply won't miss it. You naturally learn to live on the 90%, all while your emergency fund quietly and powerfully grows entirely in the background.
And here is a fantastic pro tip to gamify your savings. Whenever you get unexpected windfalls, use the 80-20 rule. Throughout the year, you might get a tax refund, an unexpected bonus at work, or maybe a decent check from a weekend side hustle. Instead of blowing the whole shebang, throw a massive 80% of it straight into your emergency fund and keep the remaining 20% entirely guilt-free for fun. By capturing those sudden influxes of cash and aggressively routing them to the vault, you're going to hit your 3-month survival goal twice as fast without totally sacrificing all your enjoyment.
Which brings us to Section 5, Buying Peace of Mind, the ultimate payoff.
Let's do a quick recap of the highly logical journey we just took. Step 1, we gained extreme clarity by calculating our true survival baseline and multiplying it by 3, completely stripping away that mental paralysis. Step 2, we opened a high-yield savings account to heavily protect that cash from inflation and, honestly, our own impulse spending. And Step 3, we automated the funding so it grows completely invisibly in the background, relying on systems instead of willpower. 3 simple structured steps to build your safety net from absolute zero.
Because here is the absolute truth. When you finally have 3 months of essential survival expenses sitting safely in the bank, your entire psychological relationship with money changes. Life's unexpected emergencies fundamentally transform from a devastating crisis into a minor inconvenience. A flat tire isn't a disaster anymore, it's literally just an errand you run on a Tuesday. So I want to leave you with this. What could you achieve, and what bold risks could you finally take in your life or your career if you knew with absolute certainty that you had a 3-month invisible safety net waiting in the vault?